Hello enthusiasts and welcome to Scaled Affairs, the show where I try to rationalize my purchases while trying to fight buyer's remorse by presenting you a review of various anime figures. So be my guest and welcome today's figure on the turntable. Miku Nakano from Gotobun no Hanayome in her date style version. She comes to you in a pretty standard window box with a squared footprint, and despite this figure's bigger scale and height, the box doesn't feel unnecessarily large. Design-wise, they did an okay job, even if in my opinion, some of the elements are a bit all over the place with the different shapes and colors in use. Inside the box you will find the figure embedded in a plastic blister shell with the base plate and the little pamphlet packed separately. All in all, pretty standard stuff, but once again they refuse to give it a proper cutout for the head section. I don't get it why manufacturers clearly bother to design it with the cutout in mind, but then leave it as it is. Mounting Miku is very easy once you've figured out which metal pack on the base goes in which foothole. Honestly, for a figure that basically is able to stand on its own, I don't know if 3 rods aren't a bit overkill. The pamphlet slides perfectly into her hands, and I'm glad that it's a removable piece. That way you can be creative and exchange it for something different like a Valentine's Day card or perhaps a book. When everything is set up, the first impression you will get from this pretty large 1:6 scale figure is overwhelmingly positive, if it weren't for the base design. At first glance this might look like your typical round plate with a bit of curbside pattern, but if you see it up close it just doesn't look right. But before I elaborate on that any further, here are some of this figure's key specs. So okay, let me ask you a question. Does this look like A, cobblestone, or B, a hamburger patty ready for the grill? I don't know, but somehow the grooves are a bit too deep, the white highlights on it make it look like the paint got scrubbed off, and I still don't know why they made the mold in such detail but didn't bother with a grey wash color to darken all the nooks and crannies. And if you think the top looks strange, wait until you see it from the bottom, because it looks like a mix of breakfast waffle and that foam they use on construction sides to fill in the gaps. Although this part might only be visible if you place her on a hidden glass shelf, in my opinion it's a subpar base for such an otherwise excellent release. Because the figure itself does look great. Despite her relatively simple outfit and the bigger scale, they managed to include a couple of nice details and a near flawless paint job. But maybe I'm a little bit biased because I really like casual dressed characters that come with little to none accessories so that I can include them into handcrafted scenarios for some figure photos. What I like the most about this version of Miku is her deep blue purse with an insane number of details, and of course the knitted top that shows how convincing the texture of a PVC statue can be these days. I don't know if this is still made via injection or if they use some sort of 3D printing, but it looks great and you can almost feel the warmth it provides. Her blue headphones are also a great detail, even if they are a bit glossy on an otherwise exclusively flat painted figure. Design-wise they remind me a lot of those Beats headphones that were pretty popular a couple years ago before earbuds took off. But the logo could also be a nod to the Japanese audio brand Audio-Technica. One thing that surely does exist in real life is the amusement park that is mentioned on the flyer she holds. Normally I wouldn't give it too much thought, but this little piece of plastic is molded and printed with an attention to details you almost never see. I had similar things like cards or books with far less accuracy than this bright green handout. They even bothered with making it a little bit crumpled. I don't know if this specific design for what appears to be the map of the park existed at some point in time, but given all the details, it wouldn't surprise me. Head sculpt and hair strains are also done great, and I also really like her facial expression with the warm smile of both lips and eyes. It also looks great that some of the hair is obscuring the face. It narrows the viewing angle, but provides a ton of depth, making it look more realistic in the process. The only part where they could have added one more detail are the buckles on her boots. They have the same color as the leather strap, and even if this might be possible, I think metallic coated ones would have looked better. I mean, they did it for the latches on the purse, so why not here? All in all, this is a really good looking casual version of Miku Nakano with a high production value for a price that is mostly fair, especially if you consider the weak conversion rate to the yen right now and since all the cheaper airmail services are reinstalled. Of course, if you are not a weirdo like me who buys his figures based on if he has an idea for a figure photo or not and are instead a fan of the series, prepare to pay up because, as it's tradition with all the quintuplets lines, there are another 4 date style figures released in a relatively short period of time. So if you keep it up, by the end of this year all 5 girls could enrich your showcase. Next time, a figure from a series where I'm a fan of. Until then, thanks for watching and hopefully we can see each other again in a new episode of Scale the Fairs when I once again take a closer look on anime figures of all sorts. Take care out there and keep having fun collecting.